Nations stunned as King William V declares Queen Catherine's unprecedented power. The bells rang out across the kingdom that morning, not the cheerful chimes of celebration, but the heavy, iron toll of something no one saw coming. Asterisk the people stood still in the streets, heads tilted toward the sound. Asterisk the sky was gray, as if the heavens themselves knew what was about to unfold. Asterisk a voice raw. Trembling spread like fire across the realm. Asterisk His Majesty. King William V has declared Queen Catherine sovereign, with powers beyond any ruler before. A pause. A silence so sharp it could slice through stone. Then whispers. Whispers that turned into questions. Questions that grew into fear, Asterisk did. You hear that, right? Baker murmured, clutching a loaf of bread, as though it were his last shield. Asterisk unprecedented power, his wife asked, her eyes wide. Asterisk, they say. No longer just the queen, an old man whispered. She's the kingdom itself. The kingdom had always adored Catherine. Asterisk her kindness, her grace, her ability to speak to a farmer as if he were a lord. But power, real power, changes everything. And now, for the first time in history, a queen stood not as the crown's ornament, but as its beating heart. Asterisk the truth of it came like a storm. Asterisk rolling over fields and through villages, rattling windows and breaking the calm. At the palace, servants rushed through the marble halls. Asterisk some wept quietly, terrified of what this meant. Asterisk others stood straighter, as though a strange, new pride swelled in their chests. In the grand throne room, Catherine sat, her hands folded. She didn't look like someone who'd been given more power than anyone in centuries. She looked almost fragile, like she was carrying a weight no one else could see. William entered, his crown slightly tilted, his face pale. Asterisk Catherine, he said softly. Asterisk she looked up, her eyes shining but unreadable. Asterisk why, William? She asked. Asterisk, you're the king. Why this? Why me? He hesitated. A pause so long you could hear the wind against the palace walls. Asterisk, because, he whispered. I am not the ruler they need. But you are the future they fear, and the hope they crave. The kingdom didn't know this yet. They only saw headlines. Rumors asterisk, king steps down. Asterisk, Queen Catherine seizes power. No one knew the truth behind closed doors. Asterisk act. By act, the story unfolded. Asterisk. And it all started with a single, impossible choice. King William had been sick for months. Asterisk. Slow sickness that clawed at him in the quiet hours. Asterisk, but no one dared speak of it. Asterisk. Catherine had been by his side through it all, and she'd seen his fear. Not fear of death, but fear of leaving the kingdom in chaos. Asterisk I can't protect. Them any more, William confessed one night, his voice breaking. Asterisk they deserve more than my weakening hands. Catherine touched his cheek, tears welling. They deserve you, not me. They deserve survival, he replied. Asterisk this was the conflict. The crossroads. Asterisk, and as the king's health failed, the council grew restless. Whispers turned to schemes. Some wanted power for themselves. Asterisk others wanted to crown the queen, thinking she would be easier to control. But Catherine was not naive. She saw through their flattery. She felt the knife beneath their smiles. Asterisk one night. As the moon glowed silver over the palace, she confronted William. Asterisk if you do this, she said, if you give me this power, I will never be the same. We will never be the same. William closed his eyes. And if I don't, Catherine, they will tear this kingdom apart. The morning of the announcement, Catherine didn't speak a word. Asterisk she stood beside William as he declared her power. The people gasped. The council shifted in their seats, their plans unraveling in real time and now, as the kingdom held its breath. Because power is not just a crown, it's the trust of millions. Asterisk and the fear of what comes next. By mid-afternoon, the city was alive with stories. Some cheered. She's the queen we've Always needed, they said. Others whispered, this is the end of the monarchy as we know it. In the palace courtyard, Catherine met with her closest advisors. Asterisk, tell me the truth, she demanded. Asterisk, do they trust me? Asterisk, a man with graying hair and a scar across his cheek looked at her, unblinking. They trust you more than they trust the crown itself, he said, and that is both a blessing and a curse. The climax came not with blood or war, but with words. Words Catherine would speak before the kingdom, asterisk forever changing how they saw her and themselves. Asterisk as evening fell, Catherine walked out onto the palace balcony. Asterisk the crowd below looked like an ocean of faces, all waiting, all listening. Asterisk she gripped the edge of the railing, her heart pounding. I did not ask for this, she began. Her voice was steady, but her hands trembled. Asterisk, I am not here to rule over you. I am here to protect you, to stand with you, because I am one of you. The crowd was silent. Even the wind seemed to pause. Then she continued, Asterisk, this power is not mine, it is yours, and I will spend every breath I have proving it to you. William, standing just behind her, closed his eyes. Asterisk he knew in that moment that the kingdom no longer belonged to kings. Asterisk it belonged to Catherine, and to the people. But with power comes shadow, and there were those who would rather see Catherine fall. Asterisk even now, whispers of rebellion brewed in the corners of taverns and the dark alleys of the capital. I can feel it, Catherine told William later that night. Asterisk they won't accept this quietly. They never do, he replied. But that's what makes leaders. Leaders, they stand, even when the ground shakes beneath them. Weeks passed. The first test came with the northern provinces, who sent word they would not bow to. Queen Catherine didn't send armies. She went herself. Asterisk. She stood before their chieftains, looking them in the eyes, and said, Asterisk, your people are my people. I will not command you. I will fight with you. Something shifted that day. Asterisk they saw her not as a monarch, asterisk, but as something different, something stronger. Asterisk. But even as the people began to believe, the court grew divided. Some plotted to bring William back to power, thinking Catherine was too bold, too dangerous. One evening, Catherine overheard two lords whispering, in the hall, she'll ruin us all. One hissed, she's changing everything. This kingdom has rules. It has history. Asterisk, she has to fall. Catherine stepped from the shadows, her eyes like steel. Then you'll have to go through me. They froze. Because in that moment, they realized something terrifying. Asterisk Catherine was no longer just a queen. She was a force. Asterisk the days that followed were tense. Asterisk. Asterisk. Each decision she made shaped the kingdom's future. Asterisk, and yet, she never lost that softness when she walked among her people. Asterisk, she listened. She wept. She laughed. She was both fire and light. Asterisk by winter. The kingdom had changed, and so had Catherine. She was no longer the woman who hesitated in the throne room. Asterisk. She was the ruler. No one could have predicted asterisk, and the one no one could ignore. But one night, she sat with William by the fire, her crown resting on the table beside her. Do you regret it? She asked him. Asterisk giving me this. William smiled faintly, his voice soft. I regret nothing that keeps you alive in history and keeps them safe. The resolution came not with a single moment asterisk, but with the quiet knowledge that the world had changed forever. Years later, they would tell stories of Queen Catherine, the queen who was never meant to rule. The queen who held more power than any king before her and used it not to conquer, but to unite. Asterisk the bells that once rang with fear, now rang with hope. The people no longer whispered. They sang her name, asterisk, and if you stood in the capital, on a quiet evening you could hear the echo of her first words as queen. Asterisk, this power is not mine, it is yours. Even now, the story of Catherine reminds us power means nothing without the heart to carry it. And sometimes, The most unlikely leaders are the ones who change everything. Asterisk, asterisk.